Most Muslims grew up with a certain picture of the universe for over thousands of years. The sky above us feels structured, the stars feel fixed. The sun moves across the sky every day, and everything is held together directly by Allah's will. These ideas were never questioned during the early ages. They were recited, preached, and repeated from childhood. But very few people pause and ask a simple question, even in the modern days. What exactly does the Qur'an and Sunnah describe about the universe? And does that description match what we can observe today? In this video, we look at Islamic cosmology calmly and critically, not to provoke, not to mock, but to understand. We take the Qur'an and hadith seriously, consider what they say about the structure of the heavens, the stars, and the sun, and then compare that picture with objective reality. Let us begin with the overall structure of the universe. The Qur'an repeatedly speaks about 7 heavens, al-samawat al-sabi. In Surah Noah, Allah created 7 heavens in layers. In Surah Al-Mulk, the dominion, they are one above another. In Surah Fusilat, explained in detail, the Qur'an adds that the lowest heaven is decorated with lamps, meaning stars. The language is consistent. The heavens are layered, stacked, and placed above us. This structure is reinforced by the story of Al-Isra al-Miraj. In Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, the Prophet ascends through the heavens one by one. Each heaven has a gate. Each is entered separately. Each contains specific angels and prophets. Classical scholars insisted that this was a real journey in body and soul, through real heavens with gates, levels, and inhabitants. Al-Qurtubi, for example, explicitly rejects the idea that it was a mere dream. The Miraj story therefore confirms and upholds the literal, layered cosmology implied by the Quranic language of 7 heavens. The Quran reinforces this image further. In Surah Al-Hajj, the pilgrimage, Allah holds back the sky so it does not fall on the earth. In Surah Fatir, the originator, Allah upholds the heavens and the earth so they do not collapse. In Surah Ar-Ra'd, the thunder, He raised the heavens without pillars that you can see. In plain terms, the sky is described as something real and substantial, something that must be supported. If Allah stopped holding it, it would fall. What we call the sky is simply air surrounding the earth, gradually thinning until it fades into space. This understanding emerged slowly, but became clear between the 17th and 19th centuries. Scientists learned that air has weight, pressure, and depth, and that as you go higher, there is less and less of it, not another ceiling above you. Experiments with air pressure, starting with thinkers like Torricelli and Pascal, showed that the atmosphere is a gas envelope, not a solid dome. Later, high-altitude balloons and eventually spaceflight confirmed this directly. There is no boundary where the sky ends and a structure begins. The sky is simply the part of the atmosphere we can see through light scattering. Once this was understood, the idea of the sky being held up or prevented from falling stopped making physical sense. Some try to reinterpret the 7 heavens as layers of the atmosphere, such as the troposphere or stratosphere. But this does not fit the Quranic picture. The Quran places stars in the lowest heaven, while all atmospheric layers are far below where stars exist. The heavens described are cosmic, not atmospheric. Now, once this structure is established, the Quran tells us what fills the lowest layer. In Surah As-Safat, those who set the ranks, and Surah Al-Mulk, the dominion, Allah says He decorated the lowest heaven with lamps. These lamps are the stars. The stars are not described as distant suns scattered through endless space. They are described as lights attached to the lowest sky, like lamps fixed into a ceiling. Then the Quran adds another function. These same stars, or fire coming from them, are used as missiles against devils. In Surah Al-Hijr, the rocky tract, and Surah As-Saffat, devils try to listen to the heavenly assembly and are chased away by flaming projectiles, shihab. Hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim explain this further. Angels speak about divine matters. Devils attempt to eavesdrop. They are struck by fiery missiles, which humans see as shooting stars. At this point, a simple question naturally arises. Can we really imagine the jinn being so large that something as vast and bright as a shooting star is needed to drive them away? The scale feels mismatched, and the explanation raises more questions than it answers. In modern astronomy, shooting stars are small rocks burning up in the Earth's atmosphere. They do not come from stars. Stars themselves are massive suns, unimaginably far away. Some say this is symbolic or part of the unseen world. But the text itself gives a concrete cause, devils listening, and a concrete mechanism, fiery projectiles. It is not presented as metaphor. Now let us turn to the sun. In Surah Yasin, the Qur'an says the sun runs on its course to a resting place. It also says the sun and the moon each travel along a path. What is striking is that the Qur'an speaks this way about the sun, but not about the moon in the same detailed manner. Perhaps because even to the naked eye, the moon clearly behaves differently. Its motion is irregular, its phases change, and it does not dominate the sky the way the sun does. The Qur'an also never mentions other planets or their satellites, meteorites, or other cosmic objects. The focus remains on what is immediately visible to human observers. This language presents the sun as something that moves daily above the earth. That idea is reinforced in Sahih al-Bukhari, where the Prophet describes the sun traveling until it reaches its resting place under the throne, then prostrating, then being allowed to rise again. Modern astronomy tells us the opposite. The sun does not circle the earth. The earth rotates, creating the appearance of sunrise and sunset. There is no resting place the sun travels to each night. Some say the Qur'an simply uses everyday language, like saying sunrise today. But the Qur'an and hadith go far beyond casual phrasing. They describe a journey, a destination, a resting place, and even a future reversal of the sun's path. This brings us to one of the major signs of the Day of Judgment. In Sahih al-Bukhari, in Kitab al-Fitan, and also in Sahih Muslim, the Prophet says the hour will not come until the sun rises from the west instead of the east. When people see this, belief will no longer benefit them. Again, this fits naturally into the same picture. If the sun is the object that moves, then reversing its path makes sense. In a modern framework where the Earth rotates, such an event would require a catastrophic reworking of the entire planet. Long before Islam, Babylonian and Assyrian omen texts already treated abnormal movement of the sun as a sign of divine judgment and collapse of cosmic order. So a reversed sunrise fits an ancient apocalyptic language rather than a new astronomical insight. For example, Assyrians believed solar eclipses were omens of catastrophe. When an eclipse occurred, they performed sacrifice rituals or even installed a temporary substitute king to absorb the coming judgment. Abnormal behavior of the sun meant the gods were threatening the collapse of order. Finally, we return to a verse often discussed in this context. In Surah Al-Kahf, the cave, verse 86, the Qur'an describes Dhu al-Qarnayn reaching the place of the sun's setting, where he found it setting in a spring of murky water. This image may sound strange to us today, but it closely matches a well-known ancient picture of the world. In Mesopotamian thought, reflected in texts like the Epic of Gilgamesh, the earth was imagined as a flat land surrounded by a cosmic ocean. The sun was believed to be a god named Shamash, who would rise from the eastern edge, travel across the sky in a golden chariot, and enter the western waters at sunset before returning again in the east. In that worldview, the sun literally went somewhere at night, often into water. The Quranic description fits naturally into this ancient way of imagining the world. The identity of Dhu al-Qarnayn is itself a separate and fascinating topic, one we will explore in another video. When we place all these elements together, the 7 layered heavens, the sky held up so it does not fall, stars fixed in the lowest heaven, meteors as weapons, a sun that travels and can reverse direction, and a sunset into a muddy spring, a clear pattern emerges. This is not random poetry. It is a coherent picture of the universe. The problem is simple. That picture does not match objective, observable reality. This does not force a conclusion, but it does force a question. If revelation comes from Allah, Al-Alim, the All-Knowing, Why does it describe the universe in a way that reflects ancient human observation rather than how the universe actually works? And when we reinterpret these descriptions to fit modern knowledge, are we uncovering deeper meaning or quietly admitting that the original picture no longer holds? That is a question worth thinking about. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Ergo dubito. Think critically.